Who's the Boss? Won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's another episode of
For the Stepdads.
Yeah, your dippy old stepdads are here to talk about 90s horror movies and let you know what we're watching and playing.
Yeah, it's October, Halloween month.
Spooktober.
Spooktober.
Or Rocktober. Remember Rocktober?
Rocktober.
Yeah, Rocktober was all about rock and roll, baby.
Oh, no, I don't remember Rocktober. Yeah. Was that an MTV thing?
I don't know. It was on radio stations.
Oh, Rocktober.
Okay. I think what was that station with Kevin and Bean?
K-Rock?
K-Rock? Yeah, I think K-Rock used to do Rocktober.
Rocktober. K-R-O-Q, yeah. Which I have not listened to a second of since Kevin and Bean show went off the air.
Neither have I.
It's weird. I feel like October, which is generally, all scary stuff all year, or all month, I watched a lot of stuff the first couple weeks of October. I feel like Halloween kind of peaked early. Like, it's weird. I don't know. I mean...
Yeah, well, you've been busy, too.
That's true.
Had to. You guys were gone visiting your Phoebe's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you've been doing stuff.
But that was for a Halloween party. I don't know. It just feels weird. I did watch a lot of YouTube stuff. Maybe that's why. Because I didn't even really play that many video games. I would sit down to play something, and then suddenly I was, going down YouTube rabbit holes of weird, spooky stuff.
Well, at least it's spooky stuff and not conspiracy stuff. Cause,
oh, God.
It's dangerous for middle-aged men to see that stuff because it affects us.
The one channel that I watched, and I've talked about them before, but when it started getting really weird, I stopped watching it. I was like, you're getting a little too conspiracy crazy.
Yeah.
Gonna get away from that.
That always blows, too, when you start to like something, and then you kind of dig around the edges. And
it's like, ooh, man, you are...
Well, you're racist. Yeah. Or something. It's usually some little nasty pellet that's buried in there somewhere.
Yeah. So... 90s movies, such a fun month.
Oh, yeah.
Tremors is fantastic.
I think Tremors it's close, man. Tremors and Scream, it's very close. I think Tremors might be my favorite 90s. Well, maybe Tremors is my favorite 90s quote-unquote horror movie, but Scream is my favorite franchise, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's also, even though it was only 6 years apart, very different times.
Yeah.
I really look at Tremors as more of almost a holdover from the 80s, of it still being kind of having that 80s feel to it.
Right. But it also shares that kind of comedy horror aspect with Scream and and again, a character driven horror film rather than I think all of the films this month were character driven horror films.
Oh, yes, definitely.
A little cut above your soulless mute.
Right.
Right. Tank killers that just light them on fire and blow them up, and they still keep coming.
He's coming.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the classics this Halloween season. None of the Freddys or Jasons or Michael Myers.
Yeah, I keep being like, maybe it's because we did watch all these 90s movies and they really are very singular, unique films. I think maybe because of that, it's hard to go back. Although Friday the 13th is so good, I've almost started it 10 times. Yeah. I'm just I
was thinking about Hollywood H2O to kind of go along with this month's 90s.
Yeah.
Dealy deals, and maybe New Nightmare too. I'm thinking about.
Actually, that would be a good one to watch. I have not seen that in a long, long time.
No, some of the. I think the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are better. There's gradations, right? But I think that's better as a franchise than Halloween, which is a better franchise than Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, the original movie is...
Friday the 13th peaked in the first movie.
Yeah, and the second two. The first two.
You're right. The second movie is really good.
Honestly, when he starts getting the hockey mask, it goes downhill.
Yeah, that's true.
When it's his mom... Spoiler alert. When it's his mom, and he's got just a... And the second one, he's got a potato sack on his face.
Just that one little eye hole. It's
so much more creepy than the. Anyway, so yeah, and I think the original Halloween is.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It's flawless.
Absolutely.
It's just
I did. I went to a pumpkin carving party and we did watch Halloween. So
nice.
I did. Yeah, and I haven't seen it since we covered it, so it was nice to see that.
It's great. It's got probably the best soundtrack.
Oh my God, it's so good.
John Carpenter is so good. I
He's
mean, I
so
think
brilliant.
people don't give him a lot of credit for his soundtracks, for his scoring, and he does such a great job. I mean, whether it's Escape from New York or
Yeah.
I mean, they all kind of sound the same. They're that 80s synth awesomeness,
but it's great.
but whenever they do like an 80s whatever,
Yeah.
they always copy.
Oh,
his,
it's always
you
that.
know,
It's so distinct.
Blood Dragon. That
Yeah.
spinoff, that video game spinoff.
Oh yeah.
Far Cry. That was very John Carpenter heavy. That game. Yeah, there's not a ton of 90s stuff that sticks out for me. I mean, there's a lot of like, there's like Leprechaun and these things that are cult classics, I suppose, that I never really got into the Leprechaun franchise.
They're not really good. I mean, like people love them because they're schlocky and bad.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's
look,
like
Leprechaun in the Hood or whatever.
I think it was Leprechaun 4.
Yeah, with
Or
Jennifer
Leprechaun 5.
Aniston. I think she's in one of them.
I think she was in the first one.
She wasn't in the hip hop one.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the first Leprechaun movie came out before she was in Friends.
With her original nose, her OG nose.
Oh yes, that's right. I really look at '90s horror as before Scream and after Scream because the horror movies changed drastically after Scream came out and the huge hit it was. Because like I really liked those other like kind of bad teen slasher movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and some of the remakes they did. There was
Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Yeah, like I mean, there was just a glut of like well into the 2000s. There was this glut of like these teen movies.
Yeah.
Of
Well, I mean, because Scream reinvigorated the genre.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
There was a ton of WB and UPN stars that needed to be in crappy movies.
That's true. That's true.
By the way, they changed Killing Mrs. Tingle to Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Yes, they couldn't use Killing Mrs. Tingle because apparently that's bad.
I guess it was like The Pope Must Die, and they changed it to The Pope Must Diet.
Yeah,
which was the stupidest change of a title ever. Let's just put a T on it. But I get it because they could still have the title, and they just kind of like drew the T on there to make everybody be like, "It's still die, you jerks." but yeah, I guess calling for the leader of a religious organization to die might be wrong. I don't know, but it was a pretty funny movie.
Yeah, it was.
I think that was Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah, Robbie Coltrane. Yeah,
and Eric Idle. Was it one of the?
I think so. I just remember Robbie Coltrane.
Robbie Coltrane. I believe it was one of the Pythons. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of forgettable '90s horror. There's a lot of derivative '90s horror.
It was around that time when they started doing. They twisted the genre to be remakes of like old '50s and '60s movies with a bunch of the WB stars,
right? And then
like 13 Ghosts and House on Haunted Hill and stuff like that.
And then they went to the rebooting of the biggies by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween and Friday the 13th, and they were all horrible.
It's funny because I think that the Friday the 13th remake, I really liked it. It wasn't good, but like it was interesting.
The one with the kid from Supernatural?
I think so. I don't remember. Whenever it came out, I remember being more impressed with it than I thought I would be.
There were all of these glossy, heartless, soulless remakes.
It was all Michael Bay stuff,
very pretty people.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. They were all produced by Michael Effin Bay.
Yeah,
so they were all bombastic and had a lot of like really pretty golden hour shots.
Yeah,
but they were garbage. They were unnecessary. They're so unnecessary that I can't tell you the plots of any of them.
Yeah, I mean
the Freddy reboot. I mean, come on, they rebooted, and a lot of these took place in the 2000s.
Yes,
I think the 2000s were kind of the awful reboot era. The aughts, is when we got all these.
For the most part, because I remember the Friday the 13th one came out later. Anyway, none of them were worth watching.
Watch the originals. I mean, the originals are not only really good movies, but they're really great time capsules of the era as well. And it's just funny, like we were talking about during the month, to see the way teenagers' portrayal changed from Friday the 13th to Scream. It went from a bunch of horny kind of dumb kids to a bunch of horny really smart kids.
It's true. It's really true. Yeah, I am excited for. I still haven't watched the sixth Scream movie yet, where they go to New York.
Yeah, I don't really remember it. I don't. That's the thing is I don't.
It literally came out in March.
I can't tell you the plot of the last 2 or 3 Scream movies. Not that they were bad or anything. It's just that they were, they weren't the same. They weren't.
Right.
They weren't as fun. They didn't capture the first one. Really captured the original trilogy. I think is tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first 2 were super tight, and the third one's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think after that, then it just kind of went in a weird direction. I think once you lose Wes Craven and once you lose Kevin Williamson, you kind of lose the thread.
I agree. Yeah, because the fourth movie wasn't bad. It was still Craven, but then once he went away, and it's not. It's like I get it. Like the guys that are directing these Scream movies, like loved these Scream movies, and they grew up on them and all this. But so at least they have that. But we'll see.
Look. Also, I will say that the quality is much better than the later sequels in any other franchise.
That is true.
Even if they aren't as good or as memorable as the first trilogy, they're still better than Jason X or
oh my God.
Jason Goes to Hell or
I can't. I know you really like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but I cannot get over them having a song by Dawkins doing the Dream Warriors. Like I just can't. It's like every time I just want to vomit.
I love it. I love Dream Warriors. And that's Patricia Arquette. That was like her first movie was Dream Warriors.
I'm not saying the people in it are bad. It was just
they are.
A stupid idea. It was a stupid idea.
Come on, man. A bunch of kids in a mental institution. Freddy's going after them, and they got to come together.
Before or after the Dream Child or whatever? It just got silly.
Well, Dream Warriors was pretty good. Watch it again. Honestly, it's like the I think it was Friday the 13th 3 with the whatever one that had Corey Feldman that kind of.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Is it 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
But that was a good one. That was a really good one.
I really enjoyed that. I remember we rewatching that a couple of years ago, and Corey Feldman's so great in it.
He's so great.
Yeah. Speaking of child actors, I wanted to randomly bring up while I was in visiting family, we watched Lilo and Stitch with the little tiny one who's like just over a year old, and I didn't realize that the girl that plays Lilo does the voice for Lilo, the little girl, Dave Chase. She, at the same time, was also playing Samara from The Ring.
Nice.
It was
very similar character.
Yeah. It was just really interesting. It was just like hey, you have a nice wide range of
Lilo and
acting.
Stitch. Hold up.
Actually does.
Really?
Surprisingly enough, it's actually pretty fun.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
It's fun. It's really good. Tia Carrere plays her big sister, and Ving Rhames plays. His name is literally like Cobra Venom or something, but he's like the social services guy. But he's like this big tough dude.
Nice.
It's really fun.
All right. Well, let's just segue in then.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what movies we've been watching. I mean, unless you have anything else you want to say about the
No.
94.
Let's talk about the stuff we've been watching.
Because we've been watching some horror stuff too.
Yeah.
And just, if you haven't watched the movies that we covered, watch them.
Highly recommend.
They're very good.
Rewatch Candyman because you have ideas of what that movie's about, and you're wrong, and you need to rewatch it.
One of our friends mentioned that Candyman 2 was his favorite movie, so I'm kind of curious to check it out.
Yeah,
because I do not remember it at all.
I don't think I saw the 2 sequels at all.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I did, but I can't remember them. I don't remember anything.
So what have you been watching?
Well, I watched a lot. You guys were gone. I had nothing to do. So there's been a lot of really fun movies that have been released lately. I checked out. We watched Meg 2.
Yeah.
I love shark movies. I love them. That's probably my favorite horror genre or whatever is shark movies, and I'll watch the crappiest. I watched that Black Daemon or something. I couldn't get through it. It was too bad.
Yeah.
But it was also the guy that started it, and I forget the actor's name, but he really bugs me, and I couldn't get past it. And I'm not going to. If I said the name of the movie, so you'll know who it is. But Meg 2 I thought was fun. It was ridiculously over the top.
Super fun.
But it's like I think we even said this while we were watching it. It is the Fast and Furious of shark movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just,
it's just utter ridiculousness.
Yeah. There's no physics. There's no, the fact that there's 2 or 3. I don't remember. There was like 3 like prehistoric
At
sharks?
least 3 they found down the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, in the Marianas Trench, man.
Yeah.
That's where the...
And I will watch anything Jason Statham.
Oh, yeah. He is just so much fun. And who better to fight a megalodon than Jason Statham?
Yeah.
But it was fun. It's definitely worth a look. It's again, I would put it in our Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Have a couple of beers.
Yeah. Definitely
category.
don't go in sober, but have fun. Have fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. We also watched No One Will Save You.
No One Will Save You.
Which was a great little horror movie.
It was an original movie on Hulu, which came out a couple weeks ago. It's really fascinating because there is only, I think, 2 lines of dialogue in the entire movie.
Yeah, it's another one of those home invasion movies.
Yes.
But they do it with an alien this time. And they got Caitlin Dever. I'm not sure how to say her name.
Dever. I think it's Dever.
Who is an amazing actor.
Yeah, she was really good.
She's been in tons of stuff. She played she played the Theranos.
Oh yeah. What's
Founder.
her name? Yeah.
The one that talks like this.
Yeah, super weird.
I'm going to change your blood forever. I'm going to fix your blood. She didn't. She didn't fix the blood. She went to jail.
She didn't.
But she did great in that. And there were a few series based on her, too.
Oh, yeah. A couple fiction series, some documentary series.
Yeah, because the actor from Ozark, she also played that part.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah.
That's right.
But Caitlin Dever was great in Booksmart. That was what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Olivia Wilde directed that. Such a fun movie with Beanie Feldman. She's actually Jonah Hill's sister.
Oh, really?
Beanie Feldman, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
I
if
didn't
you
know
actually look at her, you're like, she's totally...
okay. I didn't realize that. Yeah,
me neither until... I saw
was
that movie
obvious,
a few years ago, but that was kind of her breakout part. And she's done some other stuff, but it's so hard to carry a movie by yourself with no dialogue and keep it interesting.
Acting against CGI, essentially, it is so good. I appreciate the fact that she wasn't running around just talking to herself the whole time to kind of explain plot points. I like the fact that the filmmakers challenged you to be able to follow along. And man, she goes through a ton of crap in that movie.
Man.
It's so good. I really, really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was done really well.
I recommend it. It's on Hulu.
It's a Hulu, yeah.
It is a great spook movie for Spooktacular, Spooktober.
Shot really well. The CG is really good. It's very well done.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and there's a whole backstory to her character for the reason why she's alone, and it's a lot deeper than you would think from such a kind of one note, quote unquote horror movie. But very good, very well done. Shows what you can do a lot with a little in the right hands.
Yeah.
It was directed by Brian Duffield. I just want to get that out there because
Brian Duffield.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure what he's done, but
It was good. I definitely need a name I'll remember because it was done well.
yeah, I think you're going places, Mr. Duffield.
Curious to see. Well, hopefully, it's Hollywood, so who knows? But hopefully, yes.
I watched Reptile. Do you know Reptile?
Yeah, I was really excited to see this,
So was
then you watched it, and now I don't know if I care.
Garbage. And it's so sad too.
The trailer is so good.
So good and such. I was like, man, I am itching for a good murder mystery.
Yeah.
And Benicio del Toro is one of my favorite actors. Yeah. And seeing he and Alicia Silverstone together again, and she is great in it.
Yeah. And Justin Timberlake's one of my favorite actors.
Well, I like Justin Timberlake.
I really like Justin Timberlake. I don't know if he's a good actor.
He's hit or miss, and he is a little miss on this.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it's his fault. It's just the pacing in this thing is glacial. And
that's too bad.
There's characters there's this one character, and I love the actor. I'm not even going to embarrass him by saying his name because I also can't remember it. But he was on The Wire, and he's just a great character actor.
Yeah.
And he plays this character out of another movie, maybe. And he's like, he could not telegraph more that he's part of a conspiracy or that he's a bad guy. It's like he's supposed to be Benicio del Toro's buddy, quotes. But every time he's seeing him from across the room, he's looking at him like, oh,
staring with his beady eyes.
Yeah, you're going to do what I tell you to do. And it just is like, okay. And it turns into, it's just it turns into another one of those simple thing, turns into a big conspiracy crap. And it's super predictable. And it's
That's
just
too bad.
a shame because I love those movies. I love the people involved.
It's really disappointing because the trailer is so good.
It is.
And I was super excited about it.
I don't know. Check it out. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe it's me. But I just it's totally in my wheelhouse. Those movies.
Yeah.
And it was a slog. An absolute slog.
It's funny because when the trailer came out, like I was kind of expecting it to like people talk about it, and nobody's talking about it. Like I think generally people are just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, because it's just bland. I mean, it's just this slow, bland, pointless slog, and it doesn't do any favors for Benicio del Toro or anybody in it. So I blame the director. I think the director did a really awful job.
Didn't he? I think Del Toro actually co-wrote the script. If I remember correctly, yeah.
Well, the script was fine. I don't know. It's just, because
that's something else that made me excited about it. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I think that it looks like Del Toro really wanted a meaty part.
Right.
He wanted to get away from all of the Marvel crap and the stuff that he's been doing.
Yeah.
The fluff, and just get back into some kind of meaty character study piece. And it just was too thin. It just didn't have the gravitas, and it didn't have the pacing that it needed, to make it an enjoyable film. Yeah, I hate disparaging stuff, but it just was not very good.
And it was, I believe, it was the director's film debut, so that is too bad.
Well, then he's got room to get better. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sometimes
hopefully he grows.
Sometimes it's better to debut kind of weak because then you just. You go up. You debut too strong, like an M. Night Shyamalan ding dong, then then there's only down to go.
Well, yeah.
No, he went kind of straight and then down.
I liked his last couple movies. I
did not like Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, that Cabin in the Woods, Knock at the Cabin.
I did not like Knock at the Cabin.
It was fine. I had no issue. Old was really good. I liked it.
I didn't see it.
And apparently his show, that show Servant or whatever, is really good, but I haven't watched it.
I tried. It's just another one of those. I need to get into it, but there's something weird about 80% of the Apple TV programming that is just off.
Yeah.
20% of it is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Perfection. Blackbird is great. Severance is great.
So good. Yeah.
For All Mankind is great. But some of these other shows,
there's enough on that, like Invasion I really want to watch.
Yeah.
Which I've heard
Foundation's supposed to be good.
Foundation's supposed to be good, getting better.
There's that
Silo. I really want to see
the Idris Elba, hostage thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but I agree.
There's too much stuff.
It's just a little weird. Yeah, there's so much.
But so Reptile, I would say pass.
Thumbs down.
I tried to watch Slaughterhouse.
That it's funny. The party that I went to, the pumpkin carving party, they were starting to watch it just as we were leaving, and I was like, I've heard such bad things about it.
Gravitas.
Yeah, Gravitas Ventures.
Yeah, does not do solid work.
No.
It's pretty bad. And when I see that come up, I'm like, okay. And then I saw PG-13, and I'm like,
nope.
Okay.
Nope.
And it's just, it doesn't seem like it's going to be horrible. I didn't even get, it just, I don't need to see another Mean Girl sorority.
Yeah.
It just is another by the numbers.
Yeah.
We've seen all this garbage before, but now you're going to put a sloth in.
Right.
And somehow this sloth, the opening's pretty cute. Not cute, but the opening is like a sloth, an obviously puppet sloth, let's be honest, reaching for a leaf, and then a alligator grabs it. And you're like, oh no. And then chomp, 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 chomp. And then on the bank, a few minutes, I think there's like a whole other scene or something. Yeah. And then you see the bank, and then the little sloth claws, clunk, clunk, and it pulls itself out, and it walks away, and then you see shloop, gloop, bloop, 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 bloop.
Oh, yeah.
The alligator come up, turn over, and there's a big old slash on its belly.
Wow.
From the sloth. So that was fun. And then it got into regular times, and it was like, oh, there's a horrible, super bitchy president of the sorority, and there's a sweet girl who wants to be the president of the sorority. So she randomly, So some guy in the jungle grabs the sloth, right?
Sure.
And takes it. I don't know. Captures it. She puts a little, dart in it.
Yeah.
And after it kills a friggin' crocodile or alligator. I don't know where we are. Could it be a crocodile? Could be an alligator. I am not a zoologist.
Yeah.
But so she's just in the mall, and this dog runs. It's loose, and she grabs it. And this guy's like, "Oh, you look like you found yourself a new dog." And she's like, "I'd love to, but the sorority won't let me keep a dog." And then the dog pees on her. And then a person comes and's like, "Oh, there's the dog," and takes the dog. He's like, "You should get a sloth." And she's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, take a look at this." And he shows a picture of a sloth. And he's like, "You want to buy it? I got one for sale."
Oh, my God.
And she's like, "I don't know." And it was just like it was like, could you be any more like ham-fisted? At least they're trying to get all the crap out of the way at the beginning.
So it's written really well is what you're saying?
So I got about 5-10 minutes in and was like, nope. So it could have gotten better. I don't know.
I actually saw a clip yesterday of a sloth being attacked by a jaguar, and the sloth actually fighting it off.
Wow.
I was like, he was on like some like fallen down like tree trunk, and he kept crawling underneath it, and the jaguar was on top trying to get him, and he just kept swinging. And man, I tell you, sometimes sloths move real fast.
Yeah, no, seriously, they save up all their energy for that kind of leopard attack. But yeah.
Anyway,
on the other hand, on the other side of the coin,
Yeah.
I watched Totally Killer.
Yeah.
This one stars Kiernan Shipka.
Okay.
If you remember her from Mad Men, and I think Sabrina, the new Sabrina, New Tales of Sabrina or something.
Yes.
She and Julie Bowen plays her
From
mom
Modern
from
Family.
Modern Family. And it's just this super fun movie about there's a killer that killed people in the 80s and killed her mom's friends, and her mom was like the final girl or whatever and survived. And then the killer comes back and kills her mom. And this all happens in the first few minutes, so I'm not spoiling anything. And just coincidentally, her best friend is working on a time machine, as you do for the science fair.
Yay.
And she gets pushed back into, the 80s, and she has to deal with her mom and her dad, and they're not together yet, and they're not supposed to get together until college, because if they got together in high school, it probably wouldn't last. So there's all these little, Back to the Future type of things. And then she ends up being best friends with her best friend's mom, because she's like a nerd too.
Oh, yeah.
And she helps her. And it's just really fun. And Kiernan Shipka is awesome. Awesome in it. And you need somebody very likable in this part, because there's a lot of commentary on what it was. Because the 80s is not the most PC.
No.
But it also doesn't portray the 80s in that really kind of stereotypical BS way of, everybody's got a mullet and everybody's wearing 80 different colors. And radical dude. It nails the 80s vibe really well, which is like we were all kind of drunk sociopaths back then. We did a lot of drinking and we weren't very nice, and we were bullies, and but everybody kind of got bullied. Anyway, it's really fun to see somebody of this generation deal with our generation,
right,
and kind of get a mirror on both. And it's it's very funny, and it's well done, and figuring out the killer's fun. And
what's the title again?
It's called Totally Killer.
Totally Killer. Okay.
And I believe it is on Prime.
Okay.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Also watched. We talked about The Flash, right?
We did.
Don't need to talk about that again.
You watched it like the day after it came out. It came out like 2 months ago.
Ugh, so bad. Yeah. So bad. The worst effects ever. I just got to say that again. And then just recently I watched Old Dads.
Yeah.
Bill Burr. Look, again, it's a Gen X movie. These guys older than me playing younger than me. I don't know why that always bothers me. But it's like, there's no way that Bobby Cannavale is 49. His neck is 60. I will have to say this, though. Okay, so Old Dads, I get it. People probably don't like it. Bill Burr is very polarizing. I find Bill Burr very funny. I think I don't think he's cruel. I just think he's him. Sure. And I think I think he pushes the envelope. I think that's what comedy should do. I don't think you should punch down or be mean. I don't find that necessarily funny, but I think challenging things, I like that. I like edgy comedy. And I think his brand of comedy is very smart, very funny. I loved his show, F is for Family, on Netflix, the animated thing. So I'm a fan. I'm a definite Bill Burr fan. And it's not a great movie. And it's his directorial debut, and he co-wrote it as well. Okay. So it's your typical comedy. I mean, it hits the beats. It's pretty much, It doesn't break a lot of new ground for middle-aged,
Right.
dads and
For old dads?
Yeah, for old dads and midlife crises
Right,
and that kind of
right.
thing. But it does come around in a way that isn't like, I'm an a-hole, I'm going to be an a-hole.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to change for my kid because, he's the way he is because of his dad, and he doesn't want to turn his kid into him because of his dad kind of thing,
Right.
And by the end, he's a lot sweeter, but he's still himself. It's like, there's a good bookend of, this guy hurting himself. And in the beginning, he's like, look at that. And he's like making fun of him or whatever. And at the end, he's like, hey, you all right, buddy? You going to be okay? Whatever. And then he's like, schmuck. So he's like, he does it under his breath rather than to the people's face, which is funny.
Sure.
But I thought it was funny. I thought it was great. Bokeem Woodbine, I love him. He's really funny. And again, I am not a fan of Bobby Cannavale. I love Bobby Cannavale in The Station Agent. I think that was his first movie with Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Which is a brilliant film if you haven't seen it. I think it was Peter Dinklage's first movie.
Yeah.
He plays a guy that lives he's a station agent, lives in a railroad. He's a loner.
Railway station,
Railway. And Bobby Cannavale becomes his friend. He's super charming and great and young. But since then, I've had some problems with Mr. Cannavale. But he is really fun in this. And, he plays the guy that's desperate to stay young. Desperate to be the cool guy because he was the cool guy when he was young.
Right.
He was the guy that everybody loved, and it's like killing him. And there's this awesome scene. They're in a strip club, and he's like, "How old do you think I am?" And she's like, 49. He's like, well, why'd you say that? He's like, I don't look 49. She's like, the neck. and then from then on, he's covering up his neck, but it was just like it was such, it was a sweet. I wouldn't say love letter, but it was like a sweet note to these old kinds of comedies. Watching this, and I also watched No Hard Feelings, which is a much better comedy. But I miss comedies. We don't have a lot of good comedies coming out. And Old Dads is a fine, serviceable workman comedy that if you're a Bill Burr fan, you're going to enjoy. You're going to get some chuckles and laughs out of it. Honestly, it took me a couple of days to get through it. I got to a point and I'm like, all right, I need to take a break. I'll watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely worth seeing if you're a Bill Burr fan. If you're not, don't, because you're not going to like it. It's just no point. But No Hard Feelings, that just recently came out.
Is that the one where they try to get Jennifer Lawrence to date their kid?
So Jennifer Lawrence
is a car or something?
Yeah. So Jennifer Lawrence is an Uber driver who is trying to save her house. Her mom left her this house, and she has to pay the taxes on it, and it's in. The Hamptons, I think, or some sort of, one of those
rich,
where the rich come for the summers and then the rest of the people stay for the year. And the rich people take up everything, whatever. So her car gets repossessed and she can't do her job. Can't be an Uber driver without a car. So she sees this ad where these people, want somebody to date their son to bring him out of his shell before he goes to college.
Right.
What's great is Matthew Broderick plays the father.
Right.
So now he's the father instead of, being, Ferris Bueller being the
kid,
upstart
being
kid.
the kid,
And it's funny that Ferris Bueller, his kid, is such an introvert. And Jennifer Lawrence is so good in it, and she's so good at comedy.
Yeah, she's funny.
And the kid is so good in it. He's just great at playing this, just like a nerd.
Little nerdy kid.
Yeah, but they explain why. I mean, it's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of depth. It's kind of reminds me a bit of like a Judd Apatow kind of deal because it's got that extra, oomph that is not just a stupid comedy.
Right. It's got some meaning and value.
Exactly. And this could just be, but I love raunchy comedies with heart, and we don't get a lot of those.
Yeah.
There's is it Bottoms? Is that the one about the lesbians in high school that looks absolutely hilarious with Ayo Edebiri?
Yeah.
That looks really good. I'm just hoping that we can get. This is a nice sign. The only thing that sucks is that these. I don't think Old Dads came out in the theaters, but I don't think that No Hard Feelings did very well.
No.
And it's just people aren't going to see comedies anymore because it's. If you're going to go to the theater, people are more like, oh, I'm going to go see these big bombastic movies.
I want to see a big action movie or something.
See the dunes.
I want to see things that are epic.
Right. And it's like, well, I can just wait. You know? And that's what's killing these comedies. I mean, there's been a dearth of really good comedies lately. And it's nice to see some come back. No Hard Feelings is great. I really enjoyed
I
it.
definitely, I know when it was coming out in the theater, I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the trailers were fantastic. It, but I didn't even realize it had come out on streaming.
Yeah,
It-
it's like it could have been, a gross movie about a older woman
Yeah,
seducing a
yeah.
younger man. I mean, he's 19 in the movie, but that's the thing that's really great about it too, is he's so sheltered. He's like, we need to call an adult. She's like, you are an effing adult, and it's
Yeah.
like it really shows how they both, the friendship between them really helps. It's
Yeah.
just, it's a good movie. Definitely watch it. It's a lot of fun. Anything? What about you? Any movies?
No, beyond the stuff that we've been watching, I haven't been watching very many movies. I've been watching more TV stuff and a lot of YouTube. Like
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of horror shorts
Oh, wow.
on YouTube. There's some really great ones. There's a horror short called Just Ignore It, which it's like 10 minutes long, but it's literally it's like a Korean family, and they have like essentially like a grudge type like monster that is following them, and the only way it goes away is that they have to just continue acting like it's not there, and it is so horrifying and so terrifying because this little kid, they're sitting down eating dinner, and you hear it like coming down the stairs, and they're like, just ignore it, and it's like, between the two kids, it like slowly pokes his head into frame, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so creepy.
Nice.
And it does not end well for the family.
Oh,
but
most Korean horror
it's
movies
good.
do not end well for the family.
No. What We Found Out There was also another good one. Kind of a weird time travel thing. Like these two guys find this like a dead guy in the woods, and then there's like a box of tapes, and so they go take the tapes in, and as they're watching the tapes, you realize that they're essentially watching themselves get killed.
Oh,
It was good. There was another one, I don't remember what the name of it was, but there was another one that was really great where they had to, if you watch any of these on YouTube, it'll start just kicking in like different like horror shorts.
sure. I mean, it definitely algorithms you on there.
There was a great one where these kids like look out in the yard, and there's this dude in the like kind of like the Friday the 13th Part 2 like mask, but with like chains on it and stuff, and like the lady, like, she calls her dad, and she's like, hey, there's a guy in the yard, and like he's just standing there, and he was like, okay, whatever you do, don't not look at the guy, and it's like, don't take your eyes off of him.
Oh, so it's the opposite of the Korean one.
Yeah. So, of course, she gets the brother in to do it, and she's like, just look here, I have to go prepare. Like, Dad literally wants us to leave. Like, he knows what's going on. And then what they don't realize is that because she stopped looking, he just shows up in the like, he literally turned around, he's just there.
Hey guys.
And like, it's not, yeah, it's done really well. I wish I wrote down the name of it. But that leads me to my absolute favorite short film of all time.
Oh wow.
It's called Still Life. It was done in like 1993, I think, or maybe the mid 90s. But it was a Canadian director, and about a guy who's driving across Canada, and he's like trying to stay awake, so he takes a bunch of caffeine pills. And
I've seen this. Yeah.
pulls into a town, and everyone's mannequins.
Yeah.
And it ends so well. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's so good.
It's a great
so
short.
good.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was like a big YouTuber for a while.
Yeah, it's so good. Highly recommend it. I think there's a couple others called Still Life, but make sure you find the one about the mannequins because it's so good. On the other, like, more kind of modern, weird side, there's a whole series called Local 58, which
Okay.
is like essentially a VHF channel that you're watching.
Oh, nice.
It's some random local station,
Right.
Local 58, and it's essentially like about like an alien invasion. Maybe like
Wow.
it's just done in like these weird like emergency response like things of like essentially like if you're reading this you're probably gonna die.
Take
and, like,
place in Grover's Field or what?
no, but there's like I love these kind of weird things because there's no backstory to it. You kind of have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And it's very random. I think he's still doing, the guy that does them is still doing new ones. And in the same realm of that is a thing called Gemini Home Entertainment, which is, there's a series, if you can find the Gemini Home Entertainment box set online, it's just a series of the videos. There's like 15 of them.
Oh, wow.
So good, so weird and creepy. I highly recommend it. This all came from me starting to watch The Backrooms.
Yeah.
Kane Pixels.
Yeah, those are really weird too.
Which are so good.
There's so much interesting, creative stuff happening on the web, and I love the fact that these are just creators. They're not.
Yeah.
They're just doing it, and they're getting views and success.
Yeah, I mean, this Kane Pixels
talent.
is just a kid that he's like 16 or 17. He's just been doing them for about a year and a half. He does all of his stuff in Blender,
which is a effects program.
Yeah, an effects program. And obviously he does like audio and stuff. You know, I mean, he's very good at what he does, to the point where their A24 is doing a full Backrooms movie that he's directing.
Good for him.
And he's like 17.
That's what I love to hear. I mean, there's so few people that get a chance to make it on their own and to burst through the nepotism and the BS, and actually create something that's so groundbreaking or interesting that they get a career from it. And this is great. I love this. I love the fact that this kid's making a movie.
Yeah, the Backrooms are kind of that liminal space kind of thing, very similar to like Severance on Apple TV Plus.
It's more of an unsettling feeling.
Yeah, it's just like you go into a place where there should be people and there's not, and it's like, oh, like this is weird.
The one that I watched was this kid. He's walking through. He goes into this no trespassing area, like a field.
Yeah.
And he's walking through and he gets to this tree and there's a hole under the tree. And then he goes in the hole and there's this staircase that goes like a million miles. And then he walks down the staircase and he gets to the bottom, and then there's turns, and then there's another staircase that goes down a million miles. So I did fast forward a little bit as he was walking down the stairs because that took forever. But then he gets down to the bottom and it's way, way deep down, and he looks through and it's an abandoned mall.
Oh, yeah.
And it just kind of ends.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no like horror jump scares or anything, but it's just super unsettling.
So unsettling. Yeah. My favorite part of the Backrooms was that, because he develops it where they're like sending in guys, you figure out how to get into these backrooms, and they're sending in guys, and there's like this series of holes on the floor, and a guy falls through, and then he looks over and he's like, oh, there's some red light, so he crawls underneath the thing, and he's like outside in like a suburb like neighborhood,
like a fake suburb,
and he's like hearing someone screaming, so he's like goes to try to help this person, and the greatest moment where he finally sees what he thinks is the person, and he's just like, that's not a person. That's not a person. And then it's just him running back through all the stuff that he took 10 minutes to walk through, and he's just running and running and running, and it's like,
and you hear
it's so good. It's so good.
And he has to
highly recommend watching those. And Kane Pixels also, he does a lot of other stuff too. But he has a whole playlist of all this stuff. So
it's so easy to get sucked into that stuff too.
It's so good.
You're like,
it's just
been here 3 hours.
It's so rare to see something so original and so unique, and it's nice. And there's a ton of knockoffs now because it's not hard to do in Blender. Mm-mm. It's not hard to figure out.
But it's hard to make it that good. I mean, that's the thing. It's like anybody could do it, but not everybody can do it.
He can tell a story very well.
Yeah, and a very simple yet complex story. Very interesting stuff. Well, good for him. That's great.
Yeah. But other than that, I've been watching a lot of Twilight Zone. I started rewatching the Twilight Zone.
Nice.
I'm almost through all 36 episodes in the first season.
Nice.
It's such a good show. And it's on Paramount Plus. It looks so good. It's all super clean. It looks so nice.
I remember I think it was New Year's Day, they would have the Twilight Zone marathon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my sister'd be watching it where she is, and I'd be watching it where I am, and we'd call each other and be like, "Did you watch the episode of Bibbidi Boop?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I did." It's it's so much fun. That is a definite marathon show for me. I love just get lost in the Twilight Zone.
So good. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really. I watched a lot of news because there's a lot of things going on.
We ain't talking about that garbage.
No. But I mean, that's been eating up a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from news.
Man, it's just, I want to be distracted. I need to be distracted from some of the awfulness that's going on.
I'll just say this. Like 85% of the news is not news.
Oh, I know.
It's just there to elicit some sort of response one way or another.
Right.
Just to get you angry enough to keep watching.
Yeah.
So we're a bunch of jerks.
Yeah. So TV-wise, do you have TV stuff?
Yeah, I've been watching some stuff. We've been watching Loki.
Oh, yes.
The newest Marvel series on Disney Plus.
So good. One of the best depictions of friendships I've ever seen is between Loki and Mobius. In then played by Owen Wilson.
Wow.
No. Yeah, Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
But they that first episode, like they kind of, or second episode, they sit down, they're just having key lime pie and talking. Like it is such a believable friendship.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Very unlikely.
And yes. And in the last episode, it was that moment where like Owen Wilson turns to him and he's like, because Loki's staring at like depictions of his brother and father and stuff, and it's to everybody else's mythology. And he literally says, Owen Wilson says to him, "Yeah, I sometimes forget that you're an actual god." And like, but it's done so well. It is definitely cream of the crop for the Marvel's TV shows.
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely worth watching.
Another great performance from Ke Huy Quan.
Oh God, yeah.
He's so good in it. Every time I see him now, I'm like, man, it sucks that you didn't act for like 30 years.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Which I love the fact that that's like the main thing of this is like, the snake eating its own tail.
Everything is circle.
Yeah, and that basically everything creates and destroys itself.
Right.
In cycle.
Yeah.
And the way that they're kind of like, I love time travel stuff. And the more complicated, the better for me. Like,
right.
I like a very intricate story that tries to explain stuff and gives you meaning behind all the, the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun, like with Totally Killer, just to go in and just turn your mind off, and you're like, it doesn't matter. Time machine was built somehow, and knife put in it, and that's how it would figure. Oh, it needed an extra little bit of metal. Fine, I'll buy it.
Sure,
because it's not about time travel; it's about what happens when you get there.
Right.
But this story is about time travel and the way that the lore behind how it all works and the system that protects it is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I love time travel stuff. I'm a huge time travel nerd, and yeah, it's happy. I'm happy that it's playing out the way it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of good time travel stuff happening now.
Yeah,
keep it going.
Yeah, we need more time travel stuff.
Yeah. A couple of things I watched. There's a new season of Big Mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Which I really enjoy. It's just so crude. But I was thinking about it last night when I was watching an episode because it gets so gross.
Yeah.
But it's so true to how gross you are at that age.
Right,
I mean, it's disgusting, but it works because you are disgusting at that age. And it has such a great voice cast with John Mulaney and Iowa Berry again.
Oh, yeah.
She's in it. And Nick Kroll and Jason Mantzoukas. Oh, the greatest improviser ever. I love Jason Mantzoukas. I love him. But that's back. It's as good as it ever was. I'm jammed through most of the season. They're going from grade school to high school this season, so things are changing. I also checked out a couple episodes of John Carpenter's Suburban Screams.
Yeah.
It's all right.
They're all like individual episodes, like anthology stuff?
It's reality. It's all.
Oh, it's a reality show.
Yeah, it's all basically. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either. It's following people who've had.
Like
horrible things.
Like urban legend type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Or hauntings, or somebody was trying to kill them, or
I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Okay,
and I think he I don't remember if he introduces them or not. I'll have to watch it. I didn't pay super close attention to the first episode once it was...
Right, you realized it was just a reality show.
Well, not reality, but more like a Dateline.
Like a documentary type show.
Yeah, like a investigative discovery.
Right.
One of those types of true crime shows, but it's quoties. True crime. I also watched a couple episodes of Captain Laserhawk.
Oh, yeah.
Blood Dragon Origin Remix.
Does that have to do with the Far Cry thing?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Oh, it's so weird, dude. It is so weird. It's like this anime Ubisoft version of Suicide Squad.
Oh, weird.
Where they bring in different, like there's a couple of characters from Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh.
There's a character from some like fighting game or something that gets
weird.
killed right away.
Weird.
Rayman is from Rayman Legends.
Oh, yeah.
If somehow he was an alien brought in and now he hosts a talk show.
Weird. Okay.
And the blood dragon guy, he's gay and like his lover betrays him at the beginning. It's just so crazy over the top. And
weird.
It's kind of...
I'm definitely going to check it out.
It's fun. It's kind of got that cyberpunk Edge Runners feel to it. So Captain Laserhawk, Blood Dragon Origin Remix is definitely worth seeing. It's got a very cyberpunky feel to it. Like a lot of the exteriors and stuff look very similar to cyberpunk.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's the same. I think they did a Blood Origin
I think
series
they did.
before.
Or Blood Dragon?
Yeah, Blood Dragon series before.
I feel like they did, yeah.
Anyway, it's nuts. It's worth watching. So they just finally put Moonlighting on streaming. It's on Hulu.
Ooh.
Took them a while. I guess there was a lot of issues with the soundtrack.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
popular music.
Yeah, a lot of shows, they come back on streaming and suddenly the theme song's totally different.
Yeah, well,
because of weird rights.
I think it's all the same.
Well, this one, for Moonlighting is, but I think that's part of the reason it took so long. Okay.
Moonlighting strangers who just met on the way.
Without knowing that's the theme song, it literally just sounds like you're making it up.
Who just met on the way. And then they said,
okay. All right.
Anyway,
you literally can't sing anymore because then we won't be able. We'll get.
It was a parody. Yeah. I changed just enough words.
Sure.
Anyway, look, I was obsessed with this show as a youth.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, it came out in '85. It hit me in a way. Like Bruce Willis, I was obsessed with him. I think I wanted to be him for a good many years. I forgot how much like my personality became him for a little while. I learned how to play the harmonica because of Bruce.
Oh, so I can blame him for that.
Yeah. But it's just, and I had and a couple of years later, I think the second or third season, I ended up having a relationship with the girl who was my best friend, and it was a will they, won't they, and it was just, I thought it was very similar. It just ended up being a very unhealthy relationship, which the one on Moonlighting is too, let's be honest. Right. But it was like the first real kind of, she wasn't a damsel in distress. Yeah. There was like a very, an amazing banter between the two of them. Yep. The writing was great. The bird's bird, the bee's bee. It was just all this stupid stuff. And it was like his fast talk and jive.
Right.
And it was very Dr. Seussian. Yeah. There's that great, we're looking for a man with a mole on his nose. A mole on his nose, a mole on his nose. What kind of clothes would you suppose it would bear a man with a mole on his nose? And it's just, it has this rhythm to it that is so great. They did so many different experimental stuff that nobody did. There was an episode I think it was the first season, or maybe the second season, I don't know. But it was Orson Welles' last appearance.
Oh, yeah.
He introduced the episode. In 12 minutes, your TV will go black and white. There's nothing wrong with your television. I don't feel so well. I want to die in a week. He said that. Yeah, it was sad. But they did that. They did this great Shakespeare episode where they did the Taming of the Shrew.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of the greatest TV shows. It possibly, to me, it's the greatest, like man-woman detective show. Man-woman camera TV.
Man-woman camera TV.
It's the best detective show, the Heart to Hearts and the Remington Steels. And even Remington Steele was on once. Well, they did they got very meta and they broke the fourth wall a lot. And it became very kind of Looney Tunesy, but in a fun way, in a good way. They kind of expounded upon all of the silliness that made it so much fun. Alice Beasley plays Agnes de Pesto. You may know her because she was married to, what's his name? The teacher in Fast Times that takes them to the morgue. You're not in my class. I am today.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Well, that's her real life husband.
Wow, really?
And they did this episode where it was like a murder mystery, a murder train, and they kind of fell in love, but then he ended up being the guy that was trying to kill her. It was very cute. And then Curtis Armstrong came along. Yeah, Booger was a big part of it. And, it was such a weird show, too, because it was one of the first shows, too, that the feuding between the stars, between Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd, was so much in the news.
Right.
And it's and it would delay the show because they wouldn't work together. And then they would have to do a whole show with Agnes de Pesto and Herbert Viola, Curtis Armstrong and Alice Beasley, because they couldn't get them to work together.
Right.
And then they did a whole show, like a fake documentary, making fun of all that stuff and being super meta. And it just was such a groundbreaking and different kind of show that took so many risks and was so well written that people kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
But it launched Bruce Willis's career.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it relaunched Sybil Shepherd because she was, a model and an actress, but she hadn't done a lot of stuff, in a while. And, you get to see a lot of your favorite stars. It's very young.
What is it? What is it streaming on?
Hulu.
Oh, it's on Hulu.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there's 4 or 5 seasons. But and I'm on the 2nd season, but Virginia Madsen's on it, and Tim Robbins, one of his first things, was on the show, and Charles Rocket. I don't know if you remember him, but he was on Saturday Night Live, and he ended up killing himself. But he plays David's brother. Anyway,
it's a good show.
It's so much fun to watch it. It's weird because it was so wrapped up in my teenage angst.
It's so formative of
yes.
Jim. Yeah.
But it's also, the funniest thing is, honestly, and this is why I love watching stuff that I watched as a kid.
Yeah.
Because when I was 15, Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
David Addison. On his side, 100%. He was always having fun, making fun. Dude, bad talking. Now, as an adult, I'm totally on Sybil Shepherd's side. Like, dude, be more professional. You got to, rein it in. You're not helping the clients any with your jibbity jabbity jive, with your birds, baby. Come on, Maddie. But it's just, if you haven't seen the show and you're a fan of Bruce Willis or Sybil Shepherd, or if you're even a fan of just detective shows or Hitchcock, it's very Hitchcockian. Yeah. Watch it. It's a brilliant show that stands the test of time. It's not one of those shows that's buried in the 80s and it's like, it's the 80s. It's just really fun, and it's a blast rewatching it again. I'm really, really having fun watching it.
I've never seen it. I'll have to give it a look. I'm sure we will be covering it at some point.
Oh yeah. We have to. It's just we're definitely going to do a Bruce Willis month.
Yeah.
Because I love him so much.
He's fantastic.
And it's also, it's just heartbreaking to see him, early 30s, whatever, just at the top of his game.
Right.
And then, the aphasia and everything he's going through now, he's not verbal. It's devastating.
Yeah.
For somebody that was just so energetic and dynamic and talented. There's nothing worse for somebody like that to lose all of that.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think the worst thing would be to lose your mind and lose all that. Like I can go with like losing ability to walk or whatever.
Right.
But if I can't read, if I can't do the things that I do, if I can't snappity snap, talkity talk, like I do. It would. I couldn't. I could not even fathom that, but luckily he's got a great family, an extended family that's there for him.
They all take care of him. It's
even
nice.
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore is still involved in his life. Yeah,
it's a good sign if your ex-wife is still part of your life.
I just saw recently. I just saw a random piece of trivia that the reason that Bruce Willis was on Friends was because he lost a bet to Matthew Perry. They were in a movie together, and I don't know what Matthew Perry would have lost or if Bruce Willis won, but he literally did the 3-episode arc on Friends because he lost a bet to Matthew Perry.
Oh, they were in the whole 9 yards.
That's what it was, yeah.
And then the whole 10 yards, which was awful.
Was
but the first one was pretty good.
The first one was fun, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Matthew Perry, but he was pretty good in that.
Yeah, but Bruce Willis on Friends is one of my favorite things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's so good on that show.
Well, he's great, and it was great to see him come back to TV. And again, it's just a fun, different kind of show, and it's really like nothing you've ever seen.
Okay,
so
I'm definitely going to check it out.
So I'm sure there's other crap. All I do is consume media, but that's all I can think of with those two things. Let's switch off to
video games. Yeah, I haven't been playing as many video games, although God knows they've had so many sales on the PlayStation Network.
You're getting out of control. You got a problem.
I got to stop buying things. As I say, I bought something this morning.
Did you?
Dishonored 2.
Oh, nice.
My Phoebe's brother-in-law we were talking video games when it was visiting, and he was talking about how Dishonored 2 is his favorite game of all
Our buddy
time.
Greg loves the Dishonored series.
I remember kind of playing the first one, but it was on sale for like $5.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 80% off, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I've got.
I'm not going to get to it for like 2 years, but like
exactly, it goes on the pile.
Yeah,
I bought that. I think they were having like a bundle years ago for like $5, and I got all of the Dishonored.
Oh, nice
games, and those are ones that I'm always looking at when I scroll past all of my shame.
Right.
I should probably pop that. I will give that a shot.
But yeah, other than that, like I did Callisto Protocol was one of the free games for October for PlayStation Plus people. I did play that a little bit.
I did the opening.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I'm curious to play more of it.
It's always weird when you have a very recognizable actor like Josh Duhamel.
Yes.
As the lead, and then it's just Uncanny Valley. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
The graphics are good, but it's just off enough.
And it seems interesting. I'm obviously playing it for the story. So like,
it's one of those you're going to play on. I'll probably play the same way on easy.
The easiest mode I can. So because I just want to play through the story. But the big one is that Spider-Man 2 came out. It's the first game I have bought the day it came out in a long time.
Oh yeah, it's Spider-Man 2, Spider-Mans.
Yeah, it's really funny when they're like the opening. The opening's fantastic. The even before the titles, like that whole opening sequence, the big fight, and it's really rad.
Oh yeah, and great to see that. Not to spoil anything, but great to see that villain. We haven't really seen him.
Yeah, and
depicted in such a great way.
Yes, and the best part about it is that it's like there's obviously two Spider-Men, and they talk to each other while they're like fighting, and like because they help each other, but they literally just call each other Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and it's so weird. Where he's just like, "Spider-Man, come help me," and he's like, "Okay, Spider-Man." Like,
because what if somebody's listening?
I know, but I mean, it's just
code names.
It's just funny. It's like there's just two Spider-Men. Okay, like that's just what it is.
It's your code names.
But I've only played through a little bit, a couple hours. I did. It was great though. Like the sequence. Where the Osborn kid comes back. Harry comes back, and it's like he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go ride bikes."
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like they used like the music was from Cigarette Daydream by Cage the Elephant.
Yeah.
None of the lyrics, but like I literally woke up this morning with that song stuck in my head.
Yeah. Well, I got to while you guys were away, the game came, and you were sweet enough to let me play it a little bit. Before you snatched it away from me, which I totally don't blame you for.
Not apologizing for that.
I would have done the same, but I got a chunk. I mean, not pretty far, but I played a good couple of days. Few hours. And I will say this: I think, the big set pieces and stuff are super fun and amazing and great. But what I really love about these games are the small moments, like you said, about Harry coming back. Or, there's a couple of things. They're not spoilers, but there's like a whole sequence where you go to Coney Island, and you start off going as Miles, and then you do this thing with Mysterio, which is awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. And I think there's more of them, and it might be my favorite mini game of all.
Yeah.
And then you get booted out of there, and you don't feel good, and then Peter and Mary. Is it Mary?
No.
Mary Jane?
Yeah, Mary Jane. Yeah, sorry.
Peter, Mary Jane, and Harry come, and they all introduce each other to each other. I mean, Harry and to Harry,
Yeah.
And because Genji, what's the kid's name?
Genki.
Genki. He's with him, and they're like, "Come on, hang out." And he's like, "Oh, I don't feel so good. Let's just go home." So then you switch over to the Buds,
right.
And it's just basically you're going around Coney Island, going on rides and playing games, and having small moments where you can sit on the benches or lean against the thing and talk to your friends and get a little more insight into how they're feeling. And there's this great and the side missions too.
Yeah,
are very different. There's this one, again, not spoiling anything. It's just a small side mission where this girl's like, "Hey, help me find my grandpa."
Yeah.
And so you find some clues to figure out where he is. And when you finally figure out where he is, he's just sitting on a bench looking at this thing. And you sit down next to him and have like a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Just listen to the guy talk about his wife and stuff. And it's those moments that just bring everything to life. And it feels like you're it's like a Spider-Man sim, you feel like you're really in it.
A very, very fleshed out world.
The world, there's so many more pedestrians and cars and conversation. Like you talking about this weird
that was,
conversation?
you can literally hang out next to two NPCs. I saw this on Reddit. I haven't actually played this yet, but it's like two nannies, and they're just talking. And one of them fully admits that she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I kind of got this job through a fluke, and like, I don't know what I'm doing. The other one's like, none of us really know what we're doing. And it's like, you're NPCs. What are you doing? What are you talking about?
Well, it just gives so much. You could just walk around the streets,
Yeah.
you know, and the swinging and the suit and the flight thing,
Yeah.
and it's very fluid. It's just
I am very, very excited to play through all of it, and all the little mini games and all the stuff you have to play and do all that seem very interesting.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
they're great, and it's not tedious. It's just like it's funny. I watched this. I told you this yesterday. I watched this like YouTube reel where this kid was kind of dinging IGN.
Oh yeah,
because and he was so right, and because he was parroting the review of Spider-Man 2, and he's like, Spider-Man 2, it's better than Spider-Man in every way. He's, although it is 20 hours, and 20 hours seems like a long time for me to play. I'd rather it be shorter. And there's so much things to do. I mean, there's so much to do that I would like less things to do. But even though this is the greatest game ever, much better than the first Spider-Man, which got a 10, I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why?
Yeah. I am very happy with it. I am glad I pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
It's one of the few times I trust Insomniac games. They are very good at this stuff.
Quality product. They're not going to put out something bad. And it's the fastest selling PlayStation Studios game ever.
Nice. Nice.
Because, I mean, everybody knew it was going to be great.
Yeah.
It would have been worse than the Cyberpunk 2077 debacle if this came out as crap. And I've had some glitches.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I popped through the roof a couple of times and was stuck in the building and under the thing, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I had to restart
Yeah.
the mission or whatever. But that happened a couple of times, and then just some popping and some weird stuff, but nothing game breaking or immersion breaking, except for that one part, where I got trapped in the building. But it's
But they're going to keep tweaking it, and it'll,
and you can't get away from when something's so technologically complex.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some weird mechanic that they didn't try in the testing phase. That, whatever I did to get trapped in the building, it was like some weird glitch.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. I'm speaking of Phantom Liberty. I'm speaking of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
I got the Phantom Liberty expansion. I think you did too.
I did. Yeah.
So good. So good. Honestly, and this is weird, but the one thing that I'm a little disappointed in is Idris Elba.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just his performance is a little kind of lackluster.
Oh, really? Interesting.
It's good, and and his character is very intriguing, and the story is great. But there are times where it just seems like he's, it's kind of like running through the motions.
Here I am wearing a big suit with all these dots on my face. And
Come on, V. We got to get out of here. You can also hear him snoring as he falls asleep while he's doing his lines. No, he's great. It's totally what I love. It's like a spy thriller.
Yeah.
It opens up with the president crashing in Dogtown, which is like a walled-off part of Cyberpunk, and it's very much like a Escape from New York.
Yeah.
The John Carpenter flick.
Yeah.
It's got that vibe, but it's just they revamped most of the game, and it plays amazingly. And it Cyberpunk is in my top 5 of favorite games. I love a good RPG, and I love that Blade Runner Cyberpunk kind of essence, with robots and augmentations and all that stuff, and it plays it really well. And what's really funny is there's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different endings or 6 different endings. And it's so good that I've played through all of them.
Oh,
and
wow.
all of the endings are so different. I was telling you, there's one, it's not much of a spoiler. It's just, but there's one ending which it turns into a horror movie.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Where you have this thing stalking you that you can't kill. And if it finds you, instant death. So you have to be very careful to maneuver around that.
Oh, wow.
And 80% of the people probably never saw it because they didn't do that specific thing to get to that ending. And I'm a couple of, I'm not a big trophy guy. I'm not a trophy hunter for PlayStation. But I do have 1 platinum for Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And I think I might be getting a platinum for Cyberpunk 2077.
Nice.
I'm like 2 trophies away, so
Nice.
I'm like, I got it.
Yeah, if it's only 2 more, sure.
You know, and they're doable. They're not like
It's not like a
play through 6 different times.
or play with 10 people online simultaneously.
Or the hardest is like to get the platinum, you have to play through every difficulty level.
Ugh.
And it's like, F you, man. That's
Yeah,
like 6
yeah.
plays. That's like 300 hours.
That is not something I want to do.
But those are the 2. I'm still playing a little bit of Baldur's Gate, which I love. But Phantom Liberty sucked me in.
I think once I finish Spider-Man 2, and I'm probably gonna 100% it, just
not?
because like I want to get all the suits, and
Yeah.
I want to get all the stuff, and I want to explore every inch of that game. I think after that I'm gonna dive into Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I'm envious because I think you're playing it the way it was meant to be played.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to do another playthrough of
Yeah.
Cyberpunk. Not right away. I need to distance myself, play something else for a little bit. But I'd like to play, because the game is very different whether you play as a male or a female V.
Mm-hmm.
Your romance choices and such. And there's just a lot of different choices that lead to different endings, and I've experienced a lot of the endings. I just want to
Yeah.
see what happens because they're so wildly different and interesting that it's worth
Right.
doing a save and playing through.
Right,
It's like a
right.
whole extra level or whatever. So I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'll take it personally if you don't.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, as the owner of CD Projekt Red, you
wish.
you should. Yeah,
Actually, I wish I was Insomniac more than.
man, so good. All right, well, I think that's all we got. We'll be back next week, starting our Hitchcockian comedy month.
Yeah, that's we're gonna do a little bit of throw mama from the train,
Yeah,
some foul play,
yeah,
and some so I married an axe murder.
yeah.
Yeah, so we got that coming up next month. Happy Halloween. Enjoy your treats and your tricks. Watch these movies that we covered this month. I think our picks would be, for me, No Hard Feelings and Totally Killer
Yeah,
for movies.
Yeah, I gotta watch both of those for sure.
And then for TV shows, I would say Loki, if you're a fan.
yeah, Loki's
and Moonlighting.
Yeah,
If you have seen it, you're really going to enjoy watching it again. If you haven't seen it, you're going to have a lot of fun watching Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd be
yeah,
kooky.
yeah, and go down some YouTube rabbit holes.
Go
It's
down
fun.
some two-tube rabbit
YouTube rabbit-doos.
Go through some YouTube rabbit holes and grab yourself Spider-Man 2 if you got a PS5. Peace! Oh, I hate that. You got water?
Yeah, it's right here, Jim.
Okay, because we were both pretty smacky last time. It was gross.
I'm getting it all out now. Okay.
Ugh. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, Sane Elsewhere, already in progress.